And now, marine weather around Alaska.
First graphic in this section, the ice edge or ice chart, still showing some thin ice there around the central Arctic coast and along the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, otherwise open to the east, open to the west and southwest there, all the way to the Bering Strait. And from there, looking at tonight's forecast map, system bringing a good shot of rain into the western interior as it dries out here. Still some scattered showers along the Alaska range and diminishing precipitation up over the Arctic coast there. And another system with some wind and rain out over the western Aleutians. And this week low spreading some light rain and over the southern southeast coast. It stays dry up here to the north. For tomorrow, that system takes off to the southeast, dissipates in the trough. Lingering showers slowly diminish over the southern panhandle during the day, staying partly and mostly sunny up to the north. Mostly sunny skies, North Gulf Coast, Copper River Basin, Prince William Sound, Kenai Peninsula, Cook Inlet areas, even into the southwest interior, as this system and a lot of moisture in that southwest flow coming off the Bering Sea there, bring another good shot of rain into the western interior with rain spreading eastward into the central Tanana Valley with showers on the increase for the upper Tanana Valley, 40-mile country from the eastern Alaska range up to the Brooks Range. Drier day tomorrow for the north sloping the Arctic coast and what you saw today. Otherwise, from there, that system moves off to the northeast and rain all day long Monday for the central eastern interior, but southern Alaska partly to mostly sunny. Now just some weak systems on the chart here with not much in the way of no significant winds actually. Here, this system, maybe some showers for Kodiak Island. Light rain, fog, drizzle with some warm front action here approaching the southwest coast and some light rain with that cold front out to the west. Sunny skies in the forecast with light winds. Temperatures, some areas low 70s for the Panhandle and the Copper River Basin. Partly mostly sunny. Southern Alaska highs in the 60s, lower 70s. And for the winds, north to northwest on the south coast for Sunday, 15 to 20 knots. North to northwest, 20 knots for the central coast, and west-northwest, 15 to 20 knots for the north coast. West winds, 10 knots, Lynn Canal. Northwest at 10 for Stevens Passage and Clarence Strait with seas 2 feet. Light winds continue over the inside waters on Monday. Lynn Canal, north at 10, northwest at 10 for Stevens Passage. Clarence Strait, northwest at 15. Small craft advisories now on the south coast. Northwest winds 25 knots, seas 8 to 9 feet. Northwest 20 to 25 knots on the central coast. Lighter west-northwesterlies 15 knots on the north coast. Prince William Sound, light variable winds at 10 knots, seas only 2 feet. West-northwest-southwest 15 knots for the North Gulf Coast. Barren Islands, light variable winds and slight seas. West 15 for Kamishak Bay. Small craft advisories over southern Cook Inlet for south winds at 25 knots and 7-foot seas. For Monday, Cook Inlet, south to southwest winds, 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 3 feet. Light variable winds now for Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands at 10 knots. And variable winds, 10 to 15 knots for the North Gulf Coast. Variable winds at 10 for Prince William Sound. For Kodiak Island, Sunday, south to southwest breeze, 10 to 15 knots. Light variable winds here for Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula. Call it 10 to 15 knots with seas only 2 feet in all of these areas. And then for Monday, Alaska Peninsula here, variable winds 10 to 15 knots, north at 10 for Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island, another light wind day, variable at 10 knots with 2 to 3 foot seas. Eastern Aleutians Sunday, light variable winds at 10 knots with seas 2 to 3 feet, south at 15 for Adak and Atka, seas there 3 to 4 feet. Then small craft advisories here, winds a little brisker out this way from the south and southeast at mostly around 30 knots with seas anywhere from 10 to 13 feet. And for the day Monday, western Aleutians, south to southeast winds 20 knots with 5 to 8-foot seas. East-southeast at 15 for the central Aleutians. Unimak Island variable at 10 on Alaska Island, northeast at 15. Southwest coast, south of Nunivak Island Sunday, southwest at 15 knots. Pribilof, southwest at 15. Small craft advisories here for the northern Bering Sea, St. Matthew Island, looking at southwest at 30 knots there with seas 11 feet. And Yukon Delta coast, St. Lawrence Island, Norton Sound, southwest 25 knots. And for the day on Monday, Norton Sound, St. Lawrence Island, Yukon Delta coast, southwest at 20 knots, south of 20 for St. Matthew Island. Pribilofs into the southwest coast here south of Nunivak Island, southwest winds at 15. Eastern Beaufort Sea coast, south to southeast winds 15 knots. Central coast, southwest at 20. Small craft advisories, western Arctic coast, southwest winds 25 knots. Otherwise, it gets lighter and more variable here for the Chukchi Sea at 10 to 15 knots. And for Monday, variable winds 10 to 20 knots for the Chukchi Sea, southwest at 15 for the western Arctic coast. Turn westerly at 10 on the central coast, and then east 10 to 15 knots for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast.